What's up, TDC squad, and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be reacting to Game Theory's The Lore of Dandy's World Explained. Now, I'm not exactly sure how much of the lore has been made public by Quell, but I'm pretty sure I have a pretty good idea. So, let's see if Game Theory lives up to the hype. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Roblox is at it again. Move over, doors. There's a new horror game in town that's taking the internet and our subreddit by storm.
Yep,
Its name is Dandy's World.
Dandy's
but don't
World.
trust that smile for a minute, friends, because behind it is a sad and broken character who ruined the lives of his friends, his creators, and the very studio we're exploring. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that just can't get enough black goo. Think about it. Bendy, Doors, Welcome Home, Bob Mod, FNAF, all of them have a black, goopy thing that leads to one thing.
Wait, actually, y'all, why is that? Why is black goo so popular? That's like so random, I've never noticed that.
We should probably just plug it into my veins at this point, but alas, HR won't let me do it.
Oh no, let's not do
my
that.
Last black goopy hit, when I saw our subreddit blowing up with a game called Dandy's World that also had its own black goo, I was very excited to gobble up whatever sticky dark lore this thing had to offer. On the surface, Dandy's World is a multiplayer survival horror game on Roblox. The game itself takes place in an abandoned educational center and museum called the Gardenview Center. We play as these little creatures known as toons. Our job is to hop into the elevator with some friends and complete various tasks while collecting items that can be traded into the lead character Dandy to unlock even more toons to play as. But as you might expect, we're not the only things creeping around these empty halls. The deeper we go, the more we start to get a sense of what happened to this place once filled with the sounds of
my favorite
children's
map.
laughter
Oh,
and
never
joy.
mind.
What happened to this beloved place to shutter its doors, and why it has suddenly come back to life with evil versions of the toons known as Twisted that are trying desperately to stop us, dripping with that delightful black goo. There it is.
No, buddy, no! Let's not do that. Excuse me? Excuse me, let's not.
The good stuff. So, step into the elevator, loyal theorists, because we're gonna get to the bottom of what's really going on in Dandy's World and its smiling rainbow flower mascots. The history of the Gardenview Center actually starts with this note that you can find if you don't die to the various Twisteds chasing you around the various floors. It's an application for a business loan dated 1984.
I haven't seen this.
We can see that the Gardenview Center is the brainchild of two young visionaries, Henry Stein and Joey Drew. Wait, no, I meant Delilah Keene and
wrong
Arthur
game.
Walton. Although the connections between these two and Bendy definitely keep going. Thanks to a note sketched out by Arthur, we can tell that he was the one who originally designed the look of the toons. As for Delilah, she was a bit more sus. After seeing the sketch of the lead character Dandy, she writes back to Arthur saying,
"What about the others? You said he had friends. Yes? I'll need them. Respond ASAP. By the way, out of coffee. Get more. Also ASAP."
Uh-oh. If she's anything like me without my morning
She sounds
coffee,
a bit
things are about to get
demanding.
real bad. Even worse if she's like Santi. But despite the clearly
not the
ominous
shade to
language,
not the shade to the other Game Theory members. That's wild.
seemed phased, saying,
"You've never failed me before, Delilah."
Then, in a recent update, the developers added these portraits of Gardenview's two founders.
That-
Arthur is dressed to the nines, I tip my hat to you, sir, and Delilah is covered in black goo.
Okay. I have my first thing against them. It was not a recent update. Warehouse has been around for a bit now.
See, Arthur, this is how it starts. And then you decide to leave, and your business partner creates an inky dimension inside their apartment, which is meant to house an inky version of you that they can torture for all eternity. It's a tale as old as time. Although this black goo is a little different to the living ink from Bendy. It's called icore. And not only can we find this black goo all over the place during the game, but when you get caught by a Twisted, your toon explodes into the stuff. It's almost like the Roblox PG safe version of blood. And the name certainly lends itself to that line of thinking. Icore isn't just a made-up word. It comes from what is very quickly becoming my favorite thing to talk about on this channel. Say it with me now. Greek mythology. I wonder why there's so much of this in indie horror.
Yay! We get some Greek mythology in Dandy's world. I don't know how I didn't realize that there was Greeks in Dandy's world. I didn't even realize that.
These days. Probably a theory for another day. So make sure you ink splat that subscribe button like your life depends on it. Because
go subscribe to Game Theory, but me first.
Instead of having blood coursing through their veins, the gods had a mysterious substance known as ichor. They also believed that if a normal human were to come into contact with ichor, they would die instantly. So that's it? Ichor is just the blood of the toons? Oh no, my friends, there is a lot more going on here. Because ichor is also this game's form of currency. We collect more and more of this stuff as we descend further into the levels of the Gardenview Center. But what do we use this precious ichor to purchase? More toons to play as from Dandy's shop. Almost as if ichor isn't just the blood that's coursing through them, but it's actually what is used to make the toons. And given the notes and photos we found from earlier, while Arthur was the one who originally designed the toons, it was Delilah who brought them to life using the ichor. I guess it really is just the ink machine after all. And similarly, it has an unfortunate side effect. You see, as you play and encounter more of the Twisted Toons, you unlock research that gives you more lore about each character. Several of the research entries mention that it's the ichor, and more specifically being overcome by ichor, that turns these happy-go-lucky toons into the twisted monsters they are now. That also explains why all of the Twisteds can be seen with ichor pouring out of every orifice. They are literally so full of the stuff, it's leaking out of them. So then, if this stuff is so volatile, why make toons to begin with? As I mentioned, Arthur and Delilah get their loan in 1984, and from there, they set up the Gardenview Center as a children's educational center and museum. What it was a museum of back in 1984 is unclear exactly, but based on 2 Polaroid photos dated 1988, what is clear is that these characters were originally designed as a selling...
Oh, dang, I have not been looking at the lore that much. Hold up, what'd they say? They're setting in well. I'm so happy they're friends. Oh, that's sort of cool. I didn't even realize that.
Originally designed as a selling point for the center. Unlike other attractions, the Gardenview Center didn't have just people in mascot costumes or cuddly animatronics. They had living, breathing versions of the toons that kids could come and meet. We all know how well that goes. Although it appears as time went on, these characters became popular beyond just the center. Despite this place looking abandoned for years, there are a bunch of posters still lining the walls that give us some interesting details. First off, they made me realize that my own office walls were somehow looking more barren than an abandoned facility, almost as if someone had come and stolen everything before I moved in. Walls of the Gardenview Center. In every corner of the Gardenview Center, there are CRTs playing a TV show full of lovable toons who might look a little familiar. There are also posters of the different episodes of this show, along with the dates they originally aired, hung up on the many walls of the building. This show is Dandy's World, and the earliest date we see for the show is for the episode Snowy Adventure, which aired on Christmas night.
Oh, I didn't know that was... Oh, so Bobette was in one of the first episodes?
1992.
Yo, I didn't know that. Yo, thanks, Game Theory. You're helping me out a bit.
Years after the earliest date we know these toons to have existed, the Gardenview characters became so popular that they eventually created a show. The show wasn't just about the many adventures of Gardenview though. If you take a look around the place, you can actually find storyboards for the show. If you don't know, storyboards are essentially what TV, movies, and even gaming studios will use to plan out a sequence of events and the shots that they will need to capture or draw for any given project, meaning that this show was actively being worked on here at the Gardenview Center. This wasn't just a place where kids could come to learn and play, it was also a TV V Studio. And as I realized that, I couldn't help but be reminded of a certain other TV studio slash theme park from the real world that was popular around the same time. A studio that, in itself, was also famous for its use of a slimy substance. Nickelodeon Studios. If you're not old enough to know what I'm talking about, I don't blame you. I'm barely old enough to remember. But when you work for TV studios like Fox and Disney, you get very familiar with the history of competing studios. Nickelodeon Studios was part of the wider Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. Much like the Gardenview Center, it was both a place for kids and a working studio. Classic Nick shows like Double Dare, Legends of the Hidden Temple, and the early seasons of all that were all filmed
I remember Double Dare.
at Nickelodeon Studios. But the fun part was, people that were coming for the theme park side to keep their kids entertained could also sign up to come and see their favorite shows get made. If you were lucky enough, you had the chance of being in the audience to watch these shows being made live.
Take the Grade was produced before a live audience in Nickelodeon Studios at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida.
And of course, we can't forget about the slime.
Oh,
Nickelodeon
goodness.
and their patented green slime go together like peanut butter and jam. Sorry, jelly. No, if icore is supposed to be Gardenview's version of slime, that would make Double Dare a whole lot more morbid. This idea of live studio filming is exactly what we're seeing happening in the Gardenview Center. While the clips for the TV show are definitely cartoons, the characters themselves are toons, and they talk as if these events were real events that really happened. For example, one of the episodes of the Dandy's World TV show was called Winning Big, and it features a toon named Scraps on a game show, well, Winning Big, with the show being hosted by another toon, V. But despite this presumably happening on a fictional TV show, the actual V and Scraps have memories of this event. In one of the dialogues that can happen among the characters between levels, V and Scraps say this.
Hey V, you're not mad at me for winning all
The
your
voice
games,
acting.
right? V? I'm gonna take that as a yes.
In another set of dialogue, V claims Scraps' victory on the game show was down to pure luck. It doesn't really make much sense that V would be so salty about what happened on a TV show about her. Instead, it's more likely that she is mad because it really happened. These toons are more than just live action characters for the kids to meet. They were the performers that starred in the show. And those kids who were touring the center would have the chance to watch the show being recorded live. And I use the word would have very specifically. The show was a massive success. We know that by 1990, Dandy's World was on the air and ran for over a decade. But as with all indie horror histories, the winning streak couldn't last forever. The final episode of the show was planned for July 21st, 2002. But from what we can tell, it never actually made it to air because according to the city newspaper, on June 24th, 2002, the Gardenview Center closed its doors. The last aired episode we know about was from 2001, which again lines up with what we saw from the Nickelodeon Studios. The studio began to lay off staff that same year, 2001, and the game shows being produced there had production halted, while Nickelodeon Animation continued in other locations, which is another reason why I feel like Dandy's World was being produced as a live-action production. If there was just another animated cartoon, we'd likely see remnants of the show still going on, but as it stands, the show stopped at the same time the studio did. However, compared to Nick Studios' closure being due to the heavy shift in animation and the increase in shows needing to be filmed in Los Angeles, Gardenview's closure was a little more mysterious. According to that same newspaper, it was shut down due to a, quote, malfunction incident, which, as we all know, is indie horror corporate speak for our creation turned on us and tried to kill everyone. It's even more suspicious when the creator...
I mean, I don't... Well, wait. Our creation turned against us. They're probably talking about the Twisteds, right? I wonder if they'll go over how the Twisteds are made, but
Creator Arthur was asked to comment and chose to remain silent, especially when behind the scenes he makes it abundantly clear that he knew exactly what was going on. He writes in a letter to his longtime business partner Delilah,
Delilah, we need to talk. I know you've kept reassuring me that what had happened wasn't due to anything you had done. You had to have known this could happen to him. If you did, why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you tell me? Something like this doesn't just happen.
That him that Arthur is referring to, the one that something happened to, the one that malfunctioned, I believe is none other than the star of the show, our titular flower, Dandy. Let me explain. Ever since Gardenview Center closed down, several of the other toons have talked about how uneasy they feel around him. And we don't have to take their word for it. We can see it for ourselves in-game. In between levels, Dandy pops up in the elevator to sell you power-ups to make your run easier. But if you instead choose to not buy from him, Dandy starts to get more and more frustrated. If you continue to ignore him, things become less fine and dandy, and he'll have a full-blown meltdown. He will turn into his twisted form, and you'd better watch out because he'll soon spawn on an upcoming level to hunt you down. Dandy is a loose cannon, ready to snap at any moment if he doesn't get his way. Based on my years of indie horror experience, my hunch is that this is what happened on the day of the malfunction. Dandy was the first creation, Arthur's main guy, but unlike the others, we're being shown that he can transform into a twisted rather than just being a twisted, which lines up with the idea that this mascot malfunctioned, transforming into a twisted and created an incident that got the entire place shut down. And that proved to be correct when I found his research data. It says, quote, the star of the show, the one who runs the iCore operation, it's all his fault.
Y'all, I think game theory is cooking with this one, y'all. Ooh, the music and everything. Ooh, they're cooking. All right.
Everything we're experiencing, the abandoned studio taken over by monsters, the studio shutting down leading to this point, it's all Dandy's fault. However, the reason for Dandy's snap isn't quite as simple as you might think. With Dandy being the primary mascot in a mascot horror game, it would be easy to just assume he's purely evil. Maybe the fame got to him. Maybe he cracked under the
I thought it was the creators, no?
pressure, but eventually was overcome by the power of the iCore and became pure evil. But that isn't the case. There's a little bit of audio storytelling that you might have missed while playing through the game yourself. When Twisted Dandy chases you in-game, a song plays that you've no doubt heard before, but probably never knew the name of.
Claire de Lune, right?
This song is called Claire de Lune, and it's based off an 1869
I'm big brained.
poem by Paul Verlaine. A poem about someone who looks happy on the outside, but deep down is sad. Quote, playing the lute and dancing and all, but sad beneath their fantasy disguises. This song is telling us what Dandy and also his friends are. They are these picture-perfect, happy, smiling toons performing for the joy of others, but deep down they're sad. And they're sad because of what we saw during the Christmas update last year. According to another set of letters, after Christmas had passed, some of the Christmas-themed toons were doing the whole Blair Witch thing and hiding in the corner. Delilah's response was basically, Christmas is over, just throw them into storage till next year. Even though the toons are alive, they were being abused by their handlers and
I didn't know. But why they had to do you dirty like that? Why they had to do him dirty like that? I didn't know that they got, like, shunned away. Oh, dang.
treated like props. Only good for the thing they were made for and nothing else. Behind their smiles were sad and lonely creatures. Dandy's dialogue when he thinks you're ignoring him at the shop matches this.
We're friends here, right? Friend? What is happening?
He's confused, he's scared, he is terrified that he too has lived past his usefulness. That if he is no longer the star, that he and his friends face the same fate as those Christmas tunes. And my guess is that's exactly what happened on that fateful day in 2001. Dandy saw how his friends were being treated. He got scared. He didn't want to be ignored, to be forgotten, to no longer be the star. And as a result, he became overcome by the iCore and ultimately caused all the tunes to be locked away forever, a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why, as his research report says, he has restarted the iCore project. It's not because he's trying to build an army of evil toons to take over the world or to enact his revenge on those who wronged him. He's trying to atone for his sins. He and his friends lost everything, and it's all his fault. Now he's trying to bring the show back to life. He specifically keeps asking you to find and collect and give him the VHS tapes of the show, and he's using the iCore to create more tunes. Maybe, just maybe, if all the tunes come back, so too will the fans, the kids, the show, and Dandy can once again be the star he was literally born to be. But he is not the original creator. He's not Delilah. He doesn't know how to use the iCore properly. He's using too much, and so all of his toon friends are ending up as twisted monsters. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching.
Yo! Okay. So, let me give a basic rundown of what I just saw. So, basically, the Christmas tunes were being shunned away, right? And Dandy didn't want that to happen to him and the other tunes. So, he didn't mean to, but he then turned into a Twisted, which shut down Gardenview. And then since I think he knew that the icore was used to make the tunes, he makes us extract icore, so he can use it to remake the tunes, but as Game Theory said, he doesn't know how to use it, so he turns them into Twisteds. Wow. This was amazing. This might as well be canon, low-key, because what? This is like actually so good. But it's sort of sad that the Christmas tunes were treated like that, like it's sad that they only get to get out once a year, though. But tell me what y'all think in the comments. I really want to hear what y'all think. Well, I hope you all have a great morning, day, evening, or night. And, I hope you all have a great morning, day, evening, or night. I will see you in the next one. And always remember, be you, chase your dreams. Peace out.